اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا ربنا زدنا علما وارزقنا فهما ربنا يسر ولا تؤسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح يا مولانا يا رب العالمين. So last week, alhamdulillah, we discussed the types of tahara, right? I'm just going to go through it because we did it last week. The different types of tahara. And then we said that tahara, cleanliness in itself, is of two types. To cleanse oneself from najis, number one. And number two, tahara min al-hadath, to clean yourself from hadath. Hadath is right? Yeah. So najis would be the physical and hadath would be the spiritual, right? So then we said that najis in itself has different types, and then he mentions here, Sheikh Mustafa al-Bugha mentions 7 most important types of najis, right? Which is the one of the big najis, right? 7 types. Number 1 is khamr, wine, wa kullu ma'i' muskir, and every intoxicating liquid would be considered najis because of the verse innamal khamru wal maisir wal ansabu wal azlamu rijsun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls wine, gambling, all of these things najis, right? Dirt, filth. So every single wine, any type of wine or any type of intoxication that is a liquid intoxication will be considered najis. Number 2, al-kalb wal khinzir, the dog and the swine. Rasulullah affirms that, right? When the dog licks in any one of your utensils, then you should wash it 7 times, one of them with soil. So dog and swine would also be considered najis, right? Of the major najis. Number 3, maita. Maita is any dead carrion or dead carcass, right? Dead, something dead that died on a manner that wasn't according to Sharia. Sharia is most slaughtering. So anything that died other than slaughtering would be considered maita and would be considered najis. For example, there op die dinge soos die jou ook toe staan jy koei. Wakudu. You know, the people do that, stop die bakkie, kyk ons sny dit op vir kop in die Kaap. Najis, right? Because it didn't die according to Sharia. Although the maita or the carrion or the carcass is permissible to eat, but once it died on a manner that wasn't shar'an according to Sharia, it will be considered maita, and maita is considered najis, right? Hurrimat alaykumul maita. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah says, haram upon you is maita, any dead carrion, right? Any dead carrion. Anything that was slaughtered in a manner that is not according to Sharia, and anything that was slaughtered for idols and all of these things would also be considered najis. And then he gives examples here, that which is an exception when it comes to the najis of dead carcasses or dead carrions is maitatul insan, a human being. When he dies, he's not considered najis because of the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. Indeed, we have honored a human being. Allah says we have honored the children of Adam. So in Cape Town we have that argument about as a mayit meninggal, wanneer kan ons baca voor die ghusl, na die ghusl. According to some ulama, according to this verse, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam, we have honored Bani Adam. Bani Adam, the children of Adam, does not become najis, except a Muslim as well, a hadith of Rasulullah Subhanallah, innal muslima la yanjus, that a Muslim does not become najis. So some ulama would say, based on this hadith and this verse, it is permissible to recite for the mayyit before ghusl, and you don't have to wait till after. So when it comes to dead carrions not being najis, insan is number 1. Number 2, all of those dead things which are not considered najis is 2 things: as-samak wal jarad, the fish and the locust. You know, locust, jarad. Rasulullah says that permissible for you, maitatan wa daman, or 2 dead carrions, 2 dead things which are permissible, halal and not considered najis, and 2 bloods are permissible. فَأَمَّا الْمَيْتَتَانِ فَالْحُوتُ وَالْجَرَادِ. As for the 2 dead carrions which are permissible for you to eat, is the fish and the locust. For example, you're swimming and there's a fish floating, a snoek float daar, so gaat sy net daar los, because nou is maita, ons kan nie Allah sê haram. Rasulullah says permissible. Sy vat hy snoek huis toe, braai hom lekker, en dan, you know. So a fish, anything in the ocean that you find dead, it would be permissible to eat, as well as the locust, right? And as for the 2 bloods, says Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, which is not considered najis, is فَالْكَبِدُ وَالطِّحَالِ, is the liver and the spleen, would be considered permissible. Number 4, the fourth type of najis, he says here, major najis, الدم السائل ومنه القيح, is flowing blood. And amongst the flowing blood is pus, would also be considered a part of that. Allah says in the Quran, أو دما مسفوحا أو لحم خنزير فإنه رجس. Flowing blood and the meat of a swine is considered najis by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So any flowing blood, for example, we slaughtered the sheep, the blood that flows out is najis, that is flowing blood. But if you're krappige dinge soos hier, and you can't say nee, hy najis, ons kan nie nou salam maak because ek het my gekrap or, you know, daman masfuhan, Allah says flowing blood in the Quran is considered najis. Right? And then number 5, bawlul insan wa gha'itihi wa bawlul hayawan wa fartihi. The urine and the excrete of insan, of mankind, number 1 and number 2 is considered najis, as well as all of those animals, number 1 and number 2, right? Because a hadith comes in Bukhari, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that a Bedouin bala fil masjid, he urinated in the masjid. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صبوا عليه ذنوبا من ماء, and pour over it a bucket of water. Now based on this hadith, the ulama says, by Rasulullah saying pour water on the urine, says 2 things. Number 1, that water acts as a tadhir, as a form of cleansing. You can clean anything with water. Number 2, it says that urine, pee and all of those things are najis, based on that hadith, right? And then he says number 6, kullu juzin infasala min al-hayawan hala hayati fa innahu najis. Any part of a animal that separates from him, for example, the tail of the cat comes off while he's still alive, that is considered najis. Sy skaap se oor val af, of sy steet val af, of sy been val af, is considered najis. Ons kan dit eat, right? It's considered najis. Ma qut'a min bahimatin fa huwa mayta. Whatever is cut from a animal is considered maita, and maita is najis. Rasulullah said that, right? And then they bring an exception of anything that separates from the animals, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمِنْ أَصْوَافِهَا وَأُبَارِهَا وَأَشْعَارِهَا أَثَاثًا وَمَتَاعًا إِلَى حِينٍ. Its wool, its feathers, its leather, all of these things, its hair, is considered an enjoyment for you until the day of Qiyamah. So based on that, the ulama says exception is made. The wool of the sheep, the hair, feathers of animals that you can eat, it is tahir, pure and permissible, right? So that would not be considered najis. Then he says number 7, لبن الحيوان غير مأكول اللحم كالحمار ونحوه لأن لبنه كلحمه ولحمه najis. He says that the milk of animals which you can't eat would be considered najis. The milk of animals you can't eat, like a cat or dog, the milk is considered najis. Like a donkey as well. Donkey is haram for us to eat. Right? Now he says the milk of the donkey would also be considered najis, because the milk is similar to the meat, and the meat is najis. Right? So those are the things which we discussed last week. Walillahi alhamd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. Now he brings here a chapter, an najasatul ayniyya wa najasatul hukmiyya. Najis which is ayniyya and najis which is hukmiyya. Ayniyya means, we generally translate that visible najis. Najis which is visible, you can see the najis there. And najis hukmiyya, which is najis you don't see it, meaning it is untangible, which we call it, no? Tangible and untangible. Najis you can't see it. We'll get the hukam of najis, but the najis is not actually there. You can't see it. Understand? For example, someone peed and it dried up, but you know he peed there, so that place would get the hukam. That's why it's called hukmiyah. Now he gives examples here. He says that an-najasatul ayniyya hiya kullu najasatin laha jaram mushahid. That it is najasa which you can see. That is, there's a trace there, you can see it. Right? Or there's a quality, an apparent quality, a color or a smell, like gha'id, bawl or dam. Like number 2, number 1, or blood, you can see it. That's najis, which is ayniyya, you can see the najis. And then najis hukmiyya, which I see my teacher say the abstract najis, things which is abstract, you can't see it, right? Kullu najasa jaffat wa dhahaba atharuha. He says that najis hukmiyya is every najis which dried up, like I said, and the trace went. You can't see it anymore. It dried and the athar is gone, the trace is gone of the najis. That is hukmiyya. وَلَمْ يَبْقَ لَهَا أَثَرٌ مِنْ لَوْنٍ وَرِيحٍ. No sifa remains for it, no color, no smell, no taste, nothing remain of that najis. But you know there was najis there. Right? That is hukumiyya. Now he says najis is divided into three types. An-najasa mughallada, wal-mukhaffafa, wal-mutawassita. Najasa mughallada is a severe najis, right? Here najasatul kalb wal khinzir. Najasatul kalbi wal khinzir. The najis of a dog and a swine is considered mughallada, severe najis, extreme najis, right? ودليل تغليظها أنه لا يكفي غسلها بالماء مرة كباقي النجاسات. And now he says that how do we know that najis of the dog and the swine is extreme najis? He says because of the hadith of Rasulullah that it is not sufficient to just wash it with water once like any other najis. If blood fell on you, you just wash it once and then there you go. Right? But the dog and the swine, Rasulullah says wash it how many times? 7 times. And once even with sand. Right? So that he says that is a dalil for us to say that the dog and the swine, it is mughallada, severe najis. And then he said, najasa mukhaffafa, the light najasa. You get severe. Now mukhaffafa is the light najis. وَهُوَ بَوْلُ الصَّبِيِّ الَّذِي لَمْ يَأْكُلْ إِلَّا اللَّبَنِ. The light najis is all of the urine of a baby who didn't eat yet solid food. He only drank milk. So the urine of the baby that didn't eat solids yet, they only drank milk, breastfed or bottle, that would be considered mukhaffafa. Walam yablugh sinnu hawlayn. He didn't reach 2 years yet. Right? Now he says there that how do we know that this is mukhaffafa? Based on the hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu that it says it will suffice if a baby that didn't eat yet solids and he only drank milk, urinated on you, it will be sufficient just to sprinkle with water. Not even wash. Nabi alayhi salatu said, rashuha bil ma. Just sprinkle it with water. Shows us that it is a light najis and not severe najis. Hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam عن أم قيس بنت محصن رضي الله عنها أنها أتت بابن لها صغير لم يأكل الطعام. That she came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a son, small son that didn't eat. It was still a baby. And nog nie solis geëet. So فبال على ثوب رسول الله, and the baby urinated on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imagine a baby pee of you. Right? He urinated on Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. All Rasulullah did was فدعا بماء. Rasulullah called for some water. فنضحه ولم يغسل. Rasulullah only sprinkled. He didn't still. Hy gaat was my top uit daar so die baby nog mega person almal die. Rather Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam bring 'n bietjie water, sprinkle net en galas as die storie oor. Shows us that the urination of the baby that is not yet 2 years old, didn't eat solids yet, only drank milk, is considered mukhaffafa, a light najis. Now najis number 3, najasa mutawassita. Mutawassita means the middleman, right? Mutawassit, in between severe and in between light, you get mutawassit. Mutawassit means average or moderate. هي نجاسة غير الكلب والخنزير وغير بول الصبي الذي لم يطعم إلا اللبن. It is every single najis besides the dog and the swine and besides the baby. Anything besides those 3 is considered mutawassita. Your blood, your vomit, your anything else of najis you can think of would be mutawassita. Right? For example, he says a mithlu bawl insan, like a human being. You go to the toilet and you pee, that is najis. That is considered mutawassita. Warawthul hayawan wa dam, the dung of animals and blood would be all considered mutawassita. وسميت متوسطة لأنها لا تظهر بالرش ولا يجب فيها تكرار الغسل إذا زالت عينها بغسل واحدة. He says why it is called mutawassita, because it won't be sufficient to just sprinkle and it won't be wajib to wash it 7 times. If you say that een keer gewas and it's gone and it will suffice. That's why it is called mutawassita. Now he says here that Nabi alayhi salat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu kuntu rajulan madha'an. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu sent someone, hadith comes that he sent a person by the name of Miqdam, right, to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Okay, he says here Miqdad, yeah. He said, Ali radiallahu anhu, he says that kuntu rajulan madha'an. Ek was 'n baie warme man gewees. He was, he was hot, Sayyidina Ali. Madha'an means he used to, what do we call it now? Another word for madha? Simple terms. Right, so Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu says, kuntu rajulan madha'an. I was a very hot, heated guy. Madha'an comes from the word madhi, meaning he used to drip. His private used to drip because van lus said, he was a warme oudsie geweest. As hy nou sy vrou gesien het, dan sit nou, pineapple aan elke dag. Sayyidina Ali is saying that I was like that. He used to drip. Sahaba, and they make mention of hadith. They used to walk in the streets and the water used to drip. The how we would call it, the laswater used to drip pre-cum. In other words, Sayyidina Ali Madha. Right? He says pre-cum. I used to get a lot of that. فَاسْتَحْيَيْتُ أَنْ أَسْأَلَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. I became shy. Mishkwan pa, he's a nabi. Hoe kan ek vir hom vra oor sulke goede? I became shy. How can I ask Rasulullah about this? Like, I need to ask him. فأمرت المقداد بن أسود. I commanded Miqdad ibn Aswad فسأله, and he asked Rasulullah sallallahu, like, what must you do? If you gave pre-cum, come on your clothes or whatever, stuff came out. فقال فيه الوضوء. Nabi alayhi salatu said, only make wudu, that's all. Wudu can mean two things. Number one, you physically take wudu. That is the mu'tamad, the general view amongst all the ulama. If pre-cum came out, you just make wudu, abdas and clutch. Hoef nie te gaan ghusl en amal die goede nie. Only make wudu, and wudu can mean number two, you just wash the pot there where the najis came out, and then there you go. Like the hadith which comes in Muslim Sharif, yaghsil dhakarahu wa yatawadda. He washes his penis and his unabruki, and then he goes to make wudu, and then the story is done. So basically what he's saying, mutawassit, you can just wash it one time and then it's klaar. It's not extreme, 7 keer gaat was en ek moet nou 'n ghusl vat en almal die. Sometimes, and then we tend to overthink things. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives us the easy way out. Hadith which comes in Bukhari Sharif, عن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال أتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الغائط. Nabi alayhi salatu wasallam went to the toilet. فأمرني أن آتيه بثلاثة أحجار. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanded me to bring 3 stones. فوجدت حجرين والتمست بالثالثة فلم أجد. I found 2 stones, but I didn't find the third one. I was looking, ek het gesoek vir 'n derde klip, maar I didn't find the third one. فأخذت روثة فآتيته بها. Then I took a piece of dung and I took it to Rasulullah. Like the stones and the dung, like the I took a piece of dung and I took it to Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. فأخذ الحجرين. Nabi alayhi salam took the 2 stones وألقى الروث, and he threw away the dung. وقال هذا ركس, this is dirty. وَرِكْس and najis, this is najis. وَرَوْث, and he says here, rawth is any animal droppings, is considered najis according to Rasulullah. Right, according to the deen of Islam. فَدَلَّتْ هذه الأحاديث على نجاسة الأشياء المذكورة. He says these ahadith that we mentioned now is all giving us an example of all the things that was najis in the time of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. وَقِيسَ مَا لَمْ يَذْكُرْ فِيهَا عَلَى مَا ذَكَرْ. And he says you must use your own brain now to think. If dung was najis, so anything that is similar to that would also be considered najis. Flowing blood, he says, for example, he mentioned flowing blood. So anything less than flowing blood will also be considered najis. Pas, vomit, amal die goede, he said you must use your own intellect from there. Any questions over? G?
Is also
Considered najis, yeah. No. So there's 3, right? 3 of those words. You get the madhi, wadi, and mani. 2 of them are considered najis, and the third is not considered najis. Right? Third is not considered najis. So the mani, our madhi, is what we spoke about now, the less water, right? Considered najis. The wadi, if you ever saw you pick up something heavy and the sticky liquid come out, or after you did pee and then afterwards the sticky that come out, that is wadi. That is also considered najis, right? You must just sprinkle and fatab dust. Mani is the sperm which comes out at the time of ejaculation. That's considered mani. Is altijd gezegd mani because from that, right? So mani is the sperm which comes out of ejaculation. That is not considered najis. Hanafi madhab, it is considered najis, right? But in the Shafi madhab, it's not considered najis. Based on the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, let's say the Aisha, she used to scratch with a nail the mani from the clothes of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So the Nabi of Allah did later get dry on his clothes, right? So based on that, the ulama say it's not considered najis because she even used her own finger to scratch it, right? So, second, what is this now? The two. That's considered mutawassita. The two. Madi and Wadi is considered anything in between those, yeah. Right? So to be considered mutawassita. Just wipe it off and then there you go. Any other questions over? Nothing? Hoe maken ze het schoon? Zoals gezegd het, based on the hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, to die man kopie in die masjid, to siya Rasulullah subbu alayhi danuban or the hanocha hadith dalwan min ma'in. Pour on it a bucket of water. Based on that hadith, say the ulama, water is the main source van tathir, van cleanliness. So water would cleanse anything, right? Water would cleanse anything. Right? The donkey. Yeah, the domesticated donkey that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam haram gemaakt. Domesticated donkey based on I can't remember the hadith now, but there's a hadith Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said that the domesticated donkey is haram for us to eat. Based on Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, based on they used to work with it those years. Right? Hulle het gewerk and that's why it was a domesticated donkey daar gestaan and used for plowing and all of these things. So they wouldn't eat it. Nabi alayhi salam made it haram. But there must be a physical hadith. I just can't remember a physical reason. But vlees van die donkey was similar to a pet mos. En die pshaf van die pet is halal om te eat. Pet eat, ja. Pshaf van die van myself. Horses van myself. Horses permissible in Shafi mother, right? But the donkey is not permissible. Domesticated donkey, right? But the donkey, a wild donkey, is most a zebra. It's halal to eat. Himar wahshi, they create himar. The normal donkey, then you get himar wahshi, which is the zebra. Zebra is permissible to eat. Right?
But he did his stripes.
Right? Right, so that is the najis that is bringing here of what we did last week, right? Now, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, al-istinja wa adabuha. Sometimes why I still like to start by these things is because sometimes, and then also some of us, or all of us, including myself, also terpisah with many groot mas'alas van, tea and tie, but sometimes you forget to say the basics, right? Sometimes you really forget the basics. So, istinja, right? He says here, ma'nahu, the meaning of istinja, wa izalatun najasa, aw takhfifuha an makhraj al-bawl aw al-ghaid. Istinja means to remove any najis from the area where number 1 or number 2 came out from. Istinja. Hukmuhu huwa wajib. According to the hadith of Nabi alayhi salam, it is wajib. And what we said in the beginning, wajib means? A must, compulsory, right? Wajib. Wajib and fard is the same like we mentioned. Hukam, the law, the ruling of istinja, it is wajib. So om te number 2 en net op je broek op te trek, haram, right? Not permissible. Because khilaf wajib. What's khilaf of wajib? Khilaf wajib. What is khilaf of wajib? The opposite, Umar say. Sometimes you must just make qiyas. So the hukum of istinja is wajib. And why we say it is haram not to make istinja, based on the hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. One day Rasulullah passed by 2 graves. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he stopped there and then he felt, and Sahaba asked that, Ya Rasulullah, what is happening? What kind? And Rasulullah told Sahaba, if only you could hear and see what I hear and see. Sahaba radiallahu anh says to Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, inform us, Ya Rasulullah. Rasulullah says that these 2 graves, these people are being punished in the graves. Now from this hadith, we take two things. Number one is that Nabi alayhi salam says that the one person he went around telling verkeerde information, namima, right? He used to tell tales about people. Jy gesien wat dinges en wat dinges en jy weet dinges en dinges. That person being punished in his grave. Number two person, the second person, Nabi alayhi salam says that why that person is being punished in his grave because he never used to protect himself from, never used to make istinja in plain terms. That's number one. Like istinja is wajib based on that hadith, and you will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of not doing istinja. Now he says, ulama make mention also on this hadith, Rasulullah says to lighten their punishment, place something green on the qabr. There's where that sunnah comes from. To place something green on the grave. Now some ulama would again make mention that based on that hadith, it is haram to place something green on the grave. Anyone can say why? Say again? Nabi alayhi salam passed by a grave, two graves. Then he said the people are being punished in the grave. Then Rasulullah said, bring something green, put it on the grave, and as long as that thing is green, their punishment will be lightened by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Based on that hadith, the first group of ulama say it is sunnah to put something green on the grave, mutlaqan, generally. The second group of ulama, including my teacher, Mufti Ibrahim Smith, he says it is haram to place flowers on the grave. Fitna? Anyone else? Come on, students, let's see hoe week julle brein. Julle moet kyk byna so toe.
Speak good of the disease.
Okay.
That is a sign of something bad.
Say again? That is a
sign
sign?
of something bad.
Placing flowers on the grave.
No, the person did not what he did in his life.
Okay. Anyone else? Are you buddy? Right, so some ulama says that by placing flowers on the grave, something green on the grave, based on that hadith, is that you are making a judgment for that person in the grave. That by you placing something green on, you are actually saying that he's being punished in the grave. Based on the hadith of Nabi alayhi salam, that they are being punished in the grave, put something green on. Now say the ulama, by you putting something green on or flowers on, you are giving that impression that that person is being punished in the grave. That's some ulama say. But the Shafi madhab in general, the fatwa of the Shafi madhab, is that it is sunnah to put flowers on the grave based on that hadith, right? So this is more off topic. So the hukam of istinja is wajib, it is a must way to make istinja. Now he says, ma yustanja bih, what can we make istinja with? He says, yajuzul istinja bil ma'il mutlaq. It is permissible to make istinja with general water, any water, permissible to make istinja. Wa huwa al-asl fi at-tadhhir min an-najasa. And water is the asl, the origin of cleanliness when it comes to najasa. The first thing you run to when there's najis, you run to water. Right? Now he says, wal afdal, and what is best is ayustanja or ayastanji awalan bil hajar. Yustanja, no? It is, he says the best is to make istinja first with stones. In our case, toilet paper. First you wipe with toilet paper, thumma yasta'mil al-ma, then you use water. لأن الحجر يزيل عين النجاسة, because the stone, toilet paper, removes the actual najis. والماء بعده يزيل أثرها, and water, or using water afterwards, removes the trace of the najis. Right? So some people gebruik the two saam. In Mughni al-Muhtaj, the fatwa of the Shafi madhab, he says it's not permissible. Some people gooi die water op die toilet paper. He says it's not permissible. Why?
You're gonna spread the najis.
You're gonna spread, yeah, and it's going to spread, yeah, but okay.
Iemand, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Ek sien die questions around. Let's sit and luister. Is it permissible for a person to use like toilet paper, toilet roll, or handpapier? Can we steam them with grass, dry grass, or sand?
Stone.
A stone.
Stone mos. Klip.
So mama altijd met een klapje lopen. Als je mol toe gaat of zo, dan ga je altijd met een klapje aan bij die mol. Wie zei dat?
Yeah, so ons gaan nou hoor daarso. So he says that he mentions that duna ay yukhalitahuma, using first you use the stone, then you use the water. You don't use them together. Like I said, Bukhari al-Muhtar says it's not permissible. وإن اقتصر على أحدهما فالماء أفضل. And if you must be restricted to one of the two, stone or water, then he says فالماء أفضل. Then water is more better. Right? As a clip, toilet paper of clip, gebruik maar die water. Right? Leave the toilet paper. If you must restrict yourself to only using one, then you go for the water. لأنه يزيل العين والأثر, because water removes the actual and the trace. Right? There will be no traces left. خلاف غيره, besides other than it. وإن اقتصر على الحجر, and if you are restricted or confined to a stone only toilet paper ونحوه is similar to it, there are certain conditions for a stone. Certain conditions in order for you to use a stone or for you to use anything. He says فيشترط أن يكون المستعمل جافا. It is a condition that which is used for istinja must be number one, jafan, dry. Must be dry. Hence why you can't mix the two, water and on the toilet paper, because now the toilet paper is not going to be dry and it's not going to meet the conditions of the stone, right? That's number one, it must be dry. Number two, وَأَن يَسْتَعْمَلْ قَبْلَ أَن يَجِفَّ الْخَارِجْ مِنَ الْقُبُلِ أَوِ الدُّبُرِ. That the thing that you're going to use, number two, you must use it before the front or the back dries, before your front or your back dry. So jy kan nie nou gaan number 2 nou loop jy vir 15 minute nou gaan jy steen maak. So he said the second condition is you must use the toilet paper or anything else before it dries, right? وَأَلَّا يُجَاوِزَ الْخَارِجِ. Number 3 is that it mustn't, if you number 1 you did pee or you did the excrete, number 2 it hadn't to have come over the borders. You know, that jy mag het so gespuit, julle hoofwang is vol. They say that's the third condition, and it mustn't have spread. صفحة الإلية أو حشفة الذكر. And it hadn't, the najis is not supposed to spread. It hadn't to spread. Julle hol is nou vol, or you know?
Burst pipe.
Yeah, a burst pipe. Right? It might have to do that in order for you to restrict yourself only on toilet paper. If it was water, no problem, you can clean yourself. But these 3 conditions, in order for you to use, you be restricted to only toilet paper. You know, some things are gebruik ons net toilet paper. And this is the 3 conditions for you to only be able to use toilet paper. Number 1, it must be dry. Toilet paper dry? Yes. Number 2, you must use it before it dries. The back or the front dries. Number 3, the najis, the back or the front, they had to have spread over the whole business. As it never spread it, then it's not going to, understand? It's not going to help now. And then he says number 4, وَأَلَّا يَنْتَقِلَ عَنِ الْمَحَلِ الَّذِي أَصَابَهُ أَثْنَى خُرُوجِهِ. That it hadn't to have spread to some place or moved to a different place. The time you are dancing, you are moving. It came out, right? كما يشترط ألا تقل المساحات عن 3 أحجار. Likewise, he says that it is a condition that you not restrict yourself to wiping only 3 times, like with the stone, because the 3 stones must. No, don't say you must just wipe 3 times. He says that's not the case. فإن لم ينضف المحل زيد عليها. And if after the 3rd time it's not clean yet, similar to in the ghusl, as you made ghusl, you wipe and wipe and wipe and look and wipe and look. After the 3rd time it was still come on, right? So like he says, فَإِن لَمْ يَنْضَفِ الْمَحَلِ زِيدَ عَلَيْهَا. If the place where you're wiping, the back or the front, is not clean after the 3rd time, then you must increase. Now he says, وَيَسُنَّ أَن يَجْعَلَهَا وِتْرًا. It is sunnah to make it an odd number. Witr means odd number. Based on the hadith which comes in Bukhari Sharif, عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال أتى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الغائط. Nabi alayhi salatu went to the toilet. فأمرني, then he commanded me أن آتيه بثلاثة أحجار, that I bring him 3 stones. Right? 3 stones. 3 stones. So based on that hadith, odd number 3, 5, 7, and he mentions it here. To make it odd number, أي كخمسة أو سبعة أو نحو ذلك, like 5, 7, 9, odd numbers. 5, 7, 9, 11, whatever amount you say here, you use it like that, right? And then he brings another hadith of Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, إذا ذهب أحدكم إلى الغائط, when any one of you goes to the toilet, فليذهب معه بثلاثة أحجار, let him take with him 3 stones. Based on this hadith also, when you go to toilet, maak eers voor jy sit, maak verseker daar is toiletpype en water. Anders sit jy moet jy phone calls maak. Of water uit die system nie down. Right? So he says, based on this hadith, Nabi Alayhi says, when any one of you goes to فَلْيَذْهَبْ, let him make sure he takes with him 3